Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Jackie from Jackie's Craft Table here on the Not Too Shabby Shop's YouTube channel. I'm going to be creating with the July card box again. This one is so adorable. It's called Insect Cuties, and these are the two stamp sets from the box. Now, this card box has sold out. They seem to go really fast. But this is going to be some fun inspiration for those of you that have the July card box, as well as those of you that want to try out this technique that I'm going to be showing you in this video. This technique can be done with any stamp set, and if you're looking for a new stamp set, I'll leave the link to the Not Too Shabby Shop's website in the description box below. They have a lot of beautiful stamps in stock. I'm going to create some shaker cards, and I'm going to start out by creating the windows. I have 4 different shapes that I'm going to use for these shaker cards, and I'm using a pencil to outline the different shapes. This pencil line will help me with my stamping of where to place the images inside these windows. So I think all that's left from this July card box is one of the pattern paper pads, and it's called Summer Flowers. I'm going to be using some of the pattern paper for my cards today. So here is my last shape. I'll trace around this hexagon, and then we'll get started on the stamping. The paper I'm using is Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock because I am going to be doing some ink blending on these panels. But first, for the stamping, I'm going to select all of my cute little images and have those ready to go. I'll be doing the same technique on all 4 cards, but all 4 cards are going to be just a little bit different. So the last one I'm picking out is this cute butterfly. I'm going to pull out my mini MISTI to stamp these because I do like to stamp them up a few times. I'll treat the paper first with some anti-static powder and then ink up the stamp with some VersaFine Onyx Black ink. I'm going to be embossing these images. It makes it easier for the ink blending. So I'll stamp this up about 3 times just to get a nice dark impression. And then this ink stays wet and sticky long enough for you to pour over your embossing powder. So let's pull out the clear embossing powder. I'll just catch it with a piece of type paper. But I just love this little bee stamp holding the heart. Okay, the next one is the butterfly. I'm going to stamp all of these images up, pour over the embossing powder, and then just heat emboss them all at once. Now for the ladybug. I love the little eyes on these insects. They're so cute. The last image I'm going to stamp up is another bumblebee. Okay, now I can pour on the embossing powder. I do like to allow my heat tool to warm up for about a minute before I bring it to the paper. So let's melt all of these. And I go kind of slow. I put it on the image and melt a section, and then I take it off to let the paper cool. I'm just trying hard not to let it warp. I never get tired of watching the embossing powder melt. It's just magical, I think. Now for the butterfly. And then last is the ladybug. Okay, I pulled out several Distress Oxide inks, and I'm going right over the whole image as well as the shape. I'm blending the ink all the way to the edge of the shape. And these, again, are just very pale colors that I'm using. This first one is Tattered Rose. The bumblebee, I used Squeezed Lemonade. And now for some Milled Lavender. Since I embossed the images, I can blend the ink on right away. I don't have to allow the ink to dry. And then it also provides a pretty shine to the lines of the stamps. The last color I'm using is Spun Sugar. And I'm not bothering to erase my pencil lines because that's going to be hidden with the paper I'm going to put on top of this. I'm going to use a tissue to buff the ink off of the embossed lines, and this just makes it bright once again. The Distress Oxide ink that I blended on these panels is going to provide me with a nice base color to start my coloring, which I'm going to do with some Copic markers. And it also provides really fast coloring because you already have your base color ready to go. I'm going right over the lines and the Distress Oxide ink with my Copic markers. This is a B00. And then I'm going to add some yellows on his face just to add some shadows for the little bumblebee, as well as on his stripes and arms and legs. I left all of the coloring in, so if you would like to skip to the end, please feel free to do so. But I just wanted to show you how quickly you can color in your images when you have a base color. So I'm just adding the shadows. I'm not going over his whole face. And then I'll add some color to the flowers on his head. And they're so small, this goes really fast too. But I like the bright pop of color on the top of these little insects. Also, if you wanted to add a little bit of white gel pen to their eyes, this would really help to make it pop. This was kind of an afterthought. I should have done this. On both of the bumblebee images I'm coloring in, I do end up adding a blue colored pencil just to some of the sections on their wings, just to make it pop a little bit more. And then you can see the colors that I'm using because I have the caps at the top left of the screen. I'm going to use a really bright green for the leaves. Since the leaves are so small, I wanted those to be seen. You can't really see the cap on this one, but it is a YG13. And I use this green on all 4 panels. I'll color in the small little rosebud, and then it looks like lilacs intermixed in the flowers. I'm going to use a really bright purple to make those pop and be seen. Let's add some pink cheeks with an R11. And here is this panel all ready to go. Okay, I'll put this aside and start in on the ladybug. Now the ladybug was really fun because I'm leaving her kind of pink. She's not going to be a really dark red. This color scheme goes perfectly with the soft tattered rose ink behind her. And then again, I'm just adding shadows around the edges of her face. I'll color in her belly with some neutral grays and a little bit of pink. And then, of course, the flowers at the top. I'm using different colors, a little bit different on each one. As I said before, the YG13 for the leaves is the same. Here's our second bumblebee. I'm using the same yellows for this. The sunflower on the bumblebee's head is going to be kind of a dark yellowy orange. The heart that the bumblebee's holding is going to be pinks, and I'm just adding several different shades of pink on that to add some shading. And then the same B00 for the wings. Here is our last image, the little butterfly, and this one is going to be purples because I used the purple milled lavender Distress Oxide ink on this. I want her wings to be really colorful, so I'm adding lots of different colors to the wings. I'll color her arms and legs in with the purples. And then it looks like she's kind of wearing a little turtleneck, and I'm going to color that in with more grays. There's so much color going on in these little images that I just wanted that to be a little more simple. And last, we'll color in the flowers on the butterfly's head. And the gray was just a little too light, so I do come in with my B00 to brighten that up just a tad, but it still looks gray. Now we're ready to put together our shaker cards. So here are all 4 panels. I'm going to use several different cardstocks and pattern paper. I'll start with the ladybug. I'm taping the circle in place upside down, and then I can just put my red panel on top. And then I can cut out this red panel, and the circle is going to be in the exact place where it is on the white panel. I'll run that through my die cutting machine, and here is this panel all ready to go. I could always cut around the white panel if I needed it to be a little bit smaller to have the ladybug fit in the circle. And now let's build up our shaker well. I like to peel off the release paper from both sides. This way you can mold it around your shape a lot easier. And I'm just going to put 1 layer of foam tape around this. It was enough to allow the shaker pieces to move around. And these are actually foam strips. I'm just using 2 together, 2 next to each other. Now for the other side of the circle, I'm trying to stay on the outside of the pencil mark. And then you have to build up the rest of the panel so it doesn't flatten out at the side. So I do end up putting a lot more foam strips around this panel. Okay, now for the fun part. Let's put our embellishments in this circle. I'm using some of the embellishments that came in the card box. These are adorable clay flowers, and there's also some clear sequins mixed in with it. I don't want to completely obscure the insect. I just want the pieces to fall around the bottom of the ladybug. So I'm not putting a lot in. Let's put the acetate on our window, and I'm just going to use a little bit of liquid adhesive to do this. You could, of course, use dot liner or double-sided adhesive, whatever you prefer. I kept the backing on this acetate just so you could see it better in the video, but that does peel right off when I need it to. Here we go. There's the window. And now let's try to line up these 2 panels. I cut out the part where my head got in the way because I had to look straight down at the panel to get it straight. And here it is. For the sentiment, I'm using a die, a word die that came in a previous card box. This says beautiful. I love the scripty font on this. I did glue 2 of these dies together just to give it a little bit of dimension. And then I'm going to use a sentiment from the ephemera shapes. This one says hello beautiful, but I'm going to just cut out the hello into a small rectangle and pop it up with another foam strip. I'll put that above the beautiful. I'll add some black gems around this panel, just so it doesn't look so plain. And that's all there is for this card. So I do the same thing for the 3 other cards, and let me show you all 4 of them completed. So here's our ladybug card. The bumblebee holding the heart, I had kind of a shaker card fail on that one. So I ended up fussy cutting the bee out and just creating another heart for the shaker. The sentiment on this card comes from the Buzzy Bees stamp set. I thought that went perfectly with this little bee holding the heart. On my 3rd card, I used some pattern paper from the card box and made a cute birthday card with this. I love how bright this one is. I also used some black and yellow sequins inside the shaker card. For the last one, I used more of the pattern paper from the card box, and this is the one that's still available in the shop if you're interested. It's lovely pattern paper. So the Not Too Shabby's card box is released on the 1st of each month, and I highly encourage you to check it out because they are just fabulous card boxes packed with beautiful products. Well, I hope you were all inspired to give this fun technique a try. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.